Alright, what's up guys? It's Symbiote Addiction 22 back at you with another video today. And as you can see, I have my Kane Mask on because I thought it'd probably be a little something extra I could add on into the video that I'm doing today. And I am going to be doing another paranormal, supernatural, urban legend, myth type video. And today for you guys, I'm only going to be doing 4 of them. 4 of these videos, and the reason being is because I had a comment in my last video of somebody actually wanting me to make my videos a little bit longer, which I don't blame them. I don't mind doing anything like that either. So, figured, why not? Why not try to do something like that? So, if you guys seen in my previous videos, I did two of the states, and one of them was Alabama, and the other one was Arkansas. So, if you guys haven't seen my previous videos, make sure you guys tune in to watch that. I'll have that in I'll have the link in the description box down below, so you guys can actually sit and watch those ones if you want to. So, the 4 states I'm going to be doing today are Idaho, Indiana, Iowa, and Massachusetts. So, the first one we're going to do is Idaho. And obviously, knowing, let me skip up a little bit. There we go. That's what you guys can see. Like I said, the mask suits well on me too as well, so I actually like it. I would have the hair over me too as well to kind of make it look a little more sinister. So there you go. So, the story of the Idaho Massacre Rock State Park kind of gives you a little bit of chills, a little bit. But, same time, still scary, still haunting. Yeah, so I'm going to kind of have my hair back just a bit so that way it's not all in my face. So, moving forward. So, the urban legend of the Massacre Rock State Park is basically known for being a major part of the Oregon Trail, which I don't know where it is actually located. I don't know if it's anywhere next to it, or maybe a couple miles down from it, or something like that. I don't know, but obviously it's a big portion of the Oregon Trail. And most people would say that the area is haunted, and obviously, the river that runs through the Massacre Rock State Park is actually known for being the most paranormal and having the most supernatural activity around it. So, the Massacre Rocks had got its name from the narrow passage through the area's boulder configurations. Settlers that traveled through that passage had feared that Native Americans would ambush them, although it wasn't verified, nor was it even given evidence that anything like that would even happen around there. So that's kind of where that name comes from. So the river that runs through the Massacre Rocks is known as Snake River, S-N-A-K-E, Snake River. Obviously, like I said, it's the main spot for paranormal activity, according to urban legends. So a lot of paranormal stuff happens around this river. Obviously, most of it probably occurs around 3 in the morning, as always being the hour of the spirits and all that type of stuff. So, apparently this river is haunted by supernatural beings called water babies. Water babies. And like I said, I know it's might be a little hard to understand me because I have the mask on and all that type of stuff. But like I said, I'm making it a little more sinister, so trying to make it a little bit scary, just a little bit. So these water babies Yeah, so these water babies, or the water spirits per se, are the spirits of drowned babies. But the story behind it is the fact that the Native Americans that inhabited the area went through some harsh times, and one time or one day the natives decided that there wasn't going to be enough food to feed anybody, any mothers, any children. So at that point in time, these mothers were forced to go down to the river, Snake River. They were forced to go down to this river and drown their babies as they were born, which is very sad. It's very, very sad, and it's heartbreaking. And this actually happened during the 1800s per se, so it's kind of crazy. So after the babies were drowned, the only way for them to survive were to change and grow fins and gills in order to survive in the waters and eating fish. Small fish, actually. So there have been reports of people actually seeing these water spirits playing in the canals and rivers in the Massacre Rocks area. So it's also said that these spirits lure humans to their death in order to avenge their sad fates that they were suffered from the hands of their own mother. Normally, yes, they are trying to search for the mothers, hoping that they would come back to the river so that way they can get dragged into the river with them, and that way they too could suffer the same fate that their babies caused from the hands of their mother, obviously. So any human, any mother, father, any teenager, adult, anything like that, anything that comes to this river is actually going to get lured into the river if they are obviously walking to the river and hearing the babies crying. So that's kind of the whole story behind that. So if you go down to the riverbank, obviously near the Snake River, you are actually more determined to actually hear a distant sound of a baby crying for its mother, like any other kid would. Any other child who misses their mom or anything like that, yes, they are bound to cry for their mother, so that's what you're going to hear. But obviously, it's more of a trap just to get them to get to the water and have them drown to their death. So it's a crazy thought that anything like this would even happen. So it's like, really? Like, wow. Anything like that is very hard to even comprehend. Alright, so moving on to the next one. And the next one is Indiana. Now, Indiana obviously is known for one thing, and many things I don't really know too much about, but one in particular that I do know about, and it's the one I'm going to tell you guys about, is the Haunted Cemetery in Indiana, which is known as the 100 Steps Cemetery, or known as the Carpenter Cemetery or the Cloverland Cemetery, which is actually located in Clay County, Indiana. So, I don't know the exact location, but it faces west on a hill overlooking the North County Road 675 West. This cemetery was actually established, started, and finished around the time of the American Civil War, and still today is an active cemetery. So, the 100 Steps got its name from, and I'm sure most of you guys don't know, probably wouldn't know, but if you had to take a guess, it would be the visitors that go to visit this cemetery would actually ascend up the steps, counted 100 steps to reach the summit. So the whole stairs case night, under a moonless sky, the visitor, whether they ascends the steps, counting 100 as they go upstairs. And yes, are supposed to and are required to count 100 total steps by the time the summit is reached. Then after that, the visitor is supposed to go walk back down and count the number of steps a second time. So once the visitor reaches the bottom, they should have a different number. So yes, once you go up, go back down. If you don't count the number of steps up to the ones that you count down, this supposedly is caused by a supernatural sleight of hand, or perhaps the fact that the visitors are counting here in the middle of the night. So that's kind of how that works out. So at the night time, it's kind of hard to even count the number of stairs in the night because you can't really see it. So, second legend, that was the first legend of the stairs. So this one is more tormented and more sinistered. So, the visitors, well, like I said, whether it's a he or she, again, ascends up the stairs, counting as they go, arriving at the 100 steps at the top of the summit. Once this visitor reaches the summit, the visitor is supposed to turn around and look down the hill. And looking down at the hill, you should see a ghost of the first caretaker that will appear there as you look down there, and they will reveal to you the manner in which that person will die, and a spectral vision, which is beyond anyone's wildest imaginations. Like, you couldn't even picture that. Anybody would never want to picture their own death and what's supposed to happen. So, at that rate, with that being said, once that's finished and he tells you all that stuff, he's supposed to vanish, be gone out of sight, and the visitor will then descend down the stairs, counting again as they go down the stairs, and you have to count them. And if you don't count them, I will let you guys know what happens at that point. Let's see. At the bottom, if the number of steps is the same way up, then the vision was wrong, and you won't suffer that death that the caretaker has shown you. Now, if it's a mismatch and the number of stairs that you went up doesn't match what you went down, then that person will die in the manner that was revealed by the phantom caretaker that showed you. So during the process of going down the stairs, and like I said, if you leave the path and don't count the number of steps, or if you don't count the number of steps, a devilish red hand, a demonic hand, will force the person to the ground, like forcibly push you to the ground, and will leave a deep red handprint on your back, or your arm, or your shoulder, wherever they hit you at. You will see a handprint there for several days. And it's the craziest thing that you would never want to imagine at all. You would never want anything like that to happen to anybody, not yourself, not your loved ones, not anybody that you know or care about. So I wouldn't want it to happen to me or anybody else that I know or love, and I definitely don't want it to happen to any of you guys. So I'm reading you guys this so that way you guys don't take precautions or don't, decide to go to these places just for the sake of YouTube to please others, because it's not something that you want to do. You don't want to do that at all. So, moving on to the third one, and the third one being Iowa. Now, like I said, all these states I don't know a lot about, so I don't know if these places are famous for this one thing or several things, or numerous of things that I don't know of. But this one is known for the Black Angel. So apparently this angel is 9 feet tall. So picture a 9 foot tall person. It's ridiculously big on a 4 foot pedestal. It's crazy tall. And this angel is a hooded figure, and of course, yes, it's black. And it looks like the ghost of Christmas. Let's see. This black angel is assumed to be cursed or haunted or possessed or in some nameless, or as anybody would name it, horrifically evil. Now obviously scientists would tell you that yes, this angel is supposedly black because it's old and the statue was made in 1912 and it was actually made out of bronze. Bronze. Not gold, not silver, bronze. And supposedly this statue was oxidized, and for most outdoor bronze statues that turn black, they turn black. And yes, this one did turn black too as well. That's kind of where it got its name from. You don't see any bronze statues in any cemeteries at all. So this is something that's very rare that you don't see a lot. So this Black Angel statue is very unangel-like because it was commissioned by I believe her name was Theresa Feldwart, if I'm not mistaken. Theresa Feldwart. And she was supposedly a Czech Bohemian immigrant. So in translations, and it's probably correct, I may be wrong, correct me if I'm wrong, if I am wrong, I'll put it in the comments down below. It's supposedly translated to be an un-American angel. So obviously the angel is not American. And it droops its head because it's looking at the grave of Theresa's son, Eddie, which I don't know a lot about. In my next video I can tell you about it. Or if you guys would like for me to explain how the whole incident occurred with her son Eddie dying and being buried at that grave under the feet of the Black Angel, put it in the comments down below and I will make sure that I can do that for you guys in my next video. So, yes, he was buried at the foot of the angel under a monument that resembled the lower half of a tree with its the top of the tree blown off. So it's kind of crazy. Very crazy. So, obviously legends say that this Black Angel has spooked generations of Iowa City school kids that came across it or encountered it as they're walking through the forest, the woods, or wherever they're going. It is also said that anybody who kisses this Black Angel statue is dropped dead, literally, within several months. I don't know if it's several months or the point to where they kiss him, anything like that. And at that point, the angel turns a darker shade of black. Every Halloween, every October 31st, the angel is supposed to turn a darker shade of black, which is said to have marked those that it killed in the very past year. So it's kind of creepy. So anybody who comes up with like hammers, hacksaws, anything like that, these people who bring these types of things in and tries to harm the angel in any way is supposed to suffer death itself too. So you go to swing a hammer at the angel, you are most likely going to suffer death in the worst way. Don't know how, but it's said to. So anybody who lives in this type of city, be careful, extra careful, be very cautious. Do not harm, do not swing, do not try to hit this angel statue with any type of weapon. Don't try to kiss it either, because you do not want to suffer that type of fate that could cause your life to go out like that. Because it's obviously said life is too short, things could happen, but you doing things like this, it's not worth it. It's really not worth it at all. And I would hate for someone to go away like that if they're doing stuff like this. Like, it's unreasonable, it's unacceptable. And I can only imagine the look on their parents' faces when they see this type of stuff. Like, it's really ridiculous. But now, that was that one, and I'm also going to have pictures on my Instagram and Facebook if you guys want to check them out. I'll have them down in the on my Instagram page as well as my Facebook page, and I'll have my profile on there so that way you guys can follow me on Instagram and Facebook, which will be down in the description box down below, so you guys can follow me on Instagram and Facebook, and I'll be on there. You guys can catch the pictures on there of each of these places that I'm talking about. So, that's that one. And on to the last one, the very last one, which is Massachusetts. Obviously, this one is known for the ghost of the Bloody Pit, which is supposed to be called the Hoosac Tunnel. Now, the Bloody Pit was not the actual name of the place, but that's kind of how the tunnel got its name. And I'll explain to you guys how the tunnel got its name to Bloody Pit. If you know the story, awesome. I don't have much to explain to everybody, but for those who don't know, I still want to be able to explain it to you guys so you guys can know and understand everything. So, this tunnel was one of the most remarkable and greatest undertakings of the region, and work was started. So the tunnel wasn't started until 1851. So it was about 25 years they were working on it, and it finally finished around 1876 at most. So during that period of time, hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of miners would use mostly black powder, shovels, picks, in their own hands, fighting against this unwieldy rocks of Hoosac Mountain, I guess, to make the tunnel. So by the time that the tunnel was actually finished, and they started doing their business and all that type of stuff, more than 200 of these guys that were in the tunnel died. And this what was known to be called the Bloody Pit. These 200 men, or over the 200 men that died, they died in fires, died in explosions, died in almost any horrific way that you could possibly think of, and a tunnel collapsing in one case by the hand of another human. It would be the cold-blooded murder that occurred around 1865 that would give the tunnel its reputation for ghosts. So the tunnel was still, I guess, being worked on at the point in time. So, it was one afternoon on March 20th, 1865. Three explosive experts by the names of Ned Brinkman, Billy Nash, and Ringo Kelly decided to use nitro to continue the work on the tunnel. So they placed a charge and then ran back toward the safety bunker that would shield them from the effects of the blast. So, um, so supposedly Brinkman and Nash never made it there. However, but for some reason, Ringo Kelly set off the charge before the other men could make it to the shelter. So he basically killed them and buried them alive under a ton of rocks. Like, that's crazy. Like, why would you even turn your back on these type of guys who helped you make this tunnel in the first place? He might have had some master plan, I guess, when these two guys kind of came to help him out with the tunnel, which, like I said, I still don't understand why. So soon after the accident, Ringo Kelly vanished, was gone. Nowhere in sight, without a trace. Many believe that the accident with the nitro may not have been an accident after all. So apparently he wasn't seen until the year after these guys were killed. So it's March 30th, 1866. When his body was actually discovered 2 miles inside of the tunnel, which was crazy. So it was found at almost the exact same spot where these 2 guys were actually killed in the accident that Kelly had caused. So the authorities, the officers, the officials, they all came to an agreement. They all quickly deduced that Ringo Kelly was actually strangled to death. Deputy Sheriff Charles S. Gibson, he estimated that Kelly was actually murdered between midnight and 3:30 in the morning. So apparently, I don't know if he committed suicide or if he was assaulted and attacked by some ghostly figure. Something like that. So the death was thoroughly investigated, but no suspects were found in the crime. That was unsolved. So they haven't found out who the killer was. The construction workers had their own ideas about who had killed Ringo Kelly. So apparently, according to the rumors and whispers from all the other workers or the people who may have been asked about what had happened, they were told and they believed that Kelly was killed by the vengeful spirits of Brinkman and Nash. So I would definitely agree with that. I could definitely agree with that for sure. They came to feel that the tunnel was cursed, and many of them refused to enter that tunnel ever again. Some of the crew members worked off the job and never returned back. So the dark and brooding place with the deep shadows and dripping water became known as a shunned, bloody pit. It was best avoided, most believe, slowing the construction of the tunnel down even more. So the tunnel wasn't really all that finished quite yet. So, at that point, the construction site was toured by Paul Travers, who was a mechanical engineer and a respected cavalry officer during the Civil War. So the Civil War is still going on around this time. At that point, Travers had received a letter from Mr. Dunn, who was, I guess, like a member of the construction company, asked him to come and examine the tunnel. And apparently the workers would complain and complain constantly of hearing a man's voice cry out in agony. And obviously they refused to enter the half-completed tunnel after sundown. Mr. Dunn was convinced that the strange sounds that he was hearing were nothing more than the wind sweeping off the mountainside, but it was the work that was slowed down so drastically that he had contracted Paul Travers to investigate the matters, the crime that had been obviously done inside the tunnel. he wanted him to go investigate it. So obviously he wasn't going alone. Mr. Dunn he went into the tunnel with them. It was around September 8th, and this is only months and months later. So they didn't forget when he encountered. He didn't forget what he had encountered in the tunnel. So he later wrote a letter to his sister and told her about the weird experiences that he saw there. Obviously, this was not Dunn, but Travers, who had wrote the letter. So he said that him and Dunn entered the tunnel at exactly 9 at night. He traveled about 2 miles into the shack, and they stopped to listen. They stood there in just dead cold silence. Nothing to be heard. The only thing that they heard was a man groaning in pain. He obviously heard this sound numerous times during the Civil War, and when we turned up the winks on our lamps, there were no other human beings in the shaft except him and Mr. Dunn. He was literally frightened out of his mind. Completely frightened. He didn't know what to do. But he had assumed that this was probably Nash and Brinkman. So it was around October 17th. They were still doing their investigation. And the worst disaster had occurred in the tunnel, in which a gas explosion had blew apart the water pumping station on the surface, and 13 miners were killed when debris filled this central tunnel where they had been working. A reporter for the North Adams transcript wrote that a miner named Mallory was lowered into a bucket into the shaft. He was told to look for any sign of survivors. He was brought back to the surface a few minutes later, nearly unconscious from the fumes inside. No hope. He managed to gasp out to the rescue team. Obviously, this is a lot to take in. It's a lot, very, 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 very much to take in. Oh, excuse me. So, the bodies of some of the dead crew members grossly began to surface. More than a year later, after the disaster, the last of the bodies were found. The missing miners and the macabre discovery of the bodies created stories and legends in the surrounding area. So there were many people who told about this story and kind of explained to them what had happened. And obviously this all goes back to Mr. Dunn and Paul Travers doing their investigation. So, like I said, it's a lot more to take in. I just didn't want to, do it all. I didn't want to talk about it all at once. So, anyways, this was awesome. I really enjoyed it a lot. Really enjoyed it a lot. And hoping to do some more with you guys. So, this is the end of the 4 places that I wanted to talk to you guys about. So, make sure you guys leave a like and a thumbs up in the video if you like what you see. If you haven't already, make sure you guys subscribe to my channel. Get all the good content that you can possibly get. And I know this one didn't have a lot of content, except the fact that it's dark, but it brings out the best in the stories. So, like I said, make sure you guys subscribe so you get all the good content you want. And on top of that, share. Definitely want everybody to be able to get all the other people out there to kind of tune into the stuff that I do here, and hope that it's something that you guys are more than interested in wanting to hear about. I will definitely be doing more paranormal stuff like this a lot. Obviously, not visiting these places, that's one of the things I will not do, because I'm more so of a religious person, but more terrified of the paranormal activity that could go on around there and not knowing what could happen afterwards. So, the last thing I want to do is put my life on the line for everybody else, but I want to live my life to its fullest. I want to have the best experience of life I could possibly get and be successful in life. So, this is all that I got for you guys today. I will have a cosplay suit coming in sometime soon. I don't know when, but I am looking to get one, and it's going to be something that I'm going to try to wear at the Comic Con whenever they decide to post stuff up and kind of let us know about what's going to happen, and if they are going to have one. So, there's that. On top of that, I do have a new mask on the way, so I will keep you guys updated on when it will be here, so that way we can do this unboxing together and reveal something new. So, this has been Symbiote Addiction 22, and I hope you guys have a good rest of your weekend. Make sure you guys subscribe to my channel. Enjoy. You guys have a great one.